evening, everybody, and welcome into the iRacing Today. I'm a ghost. Into the iRacing Today radio show for July the 30th, 2015. I am your spooky host, Trevor Cameron. This is show 107, and I've got Chad here with me, as always, giggling at my foolhardy attempts to be spontaneous during the intro, and then somehow always ending up and going in weird and wonderful directions. How you doing tonight, Chad? Leave
I'm doing great.
You know what you're doing.
Yes. For the long pause and the people that aren't watching the video, I have my T-shirt that I think you can see, maybe.
Wait,
on the
hold on.
screen.
Let me.
Oh.
I said put the part of hold on to you not great gasping. All right. Okay. I've got leave
Hold
me
on.
alone. I know what I'm doing.
Yes. It's been like, gosh, I don't know, a month since I've had this shirt that Jeff McPherson purchased for me as a gift for being such an awesome person. Oh my gosh, loud noises. And
Are you surfing the web while we're doing the show, sir?
No. But anyways,
Dang those autoplay videos.
Oh, see, that's perfect. That played right into your tweet. So yes, I have wanted to wear it on the show, and actually did wear it on one of the shows, but we, of course, did not do that one live. So
Yes.
here we are.
It's been a while since we've done a live show. It's just because
Yes.
of various reasons, be it, I think there was one time there was storms, there was another time just because we had interview stuff going on. There's been lots of reasons, but we
Yes.
looked at Chad tonight. It's like, you know what? There's nothing stopping us tonight, so let's go live.
Live. So yeah, very excited. Appreciate Jeff for buying me the T-shirt. And I do know what I'm doing, so I don't need any of you. Get away. But to answer your original question,
that will never die. That whole
I know. It never will. And Andy still talks to me about it. Like the other day, I was like, Andy's going to be an unofficial, and what I meant by unofficial was like he's not going to be there the whole time this weekend, but he's going to be there some as a car engineer. And, I put a nice comment of the always popular and loved Andy, trying to show my appreciation for Andy. And he responds back with something along the lines of, well, except for Chad. And I'm like, oh, okay, here I am trying to be nice to you, and you just reject me out of the gate.
comes back with, shut up, I know you know what you're doing.
He should have. I'm disappointed he didn't do that. But yeah, I'm doing great. This is a fantabulous evening.
Fantabulous, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I like using new words.
Oh, okay. And I like zooming in my camera all of a sudden because I forgot that I forgot to do that, and I was way too far away from the camera, and it's like I'm over here.
We're real professional. You can tell we've been doing this for a while.
Well, we haven't done a live show for a while, so you got to give us some credit. I mean, the last time I was live for 24 hours, man, and I don't know what was going on at the end of that thing. So
I don't either.
I do. Well, that's part of that I managed to actually
You just
save.
said you didn't. So which one is it?
Okay,
do you
well,
or do you not?
I'm saying I have recorded evidence of what was going on at the end of it. I haven't actually watched it myself.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in to our ridiculousness that we call the iRacing Today radio show that we've been doing for 107 times. Holy crap. But got a good show for you guys this week. We've got some news. We've got some listener emails have come in, and we'll discuss a few of those. One was one was a tip to us, and one was a reminder of something that we had forgot to mention on a previous story. So we'll touch back on that. We've got some experiences, which includes story time with Trevor, because my experience comes with an asterisk all on its own. At the fact that, yes, I did race this week. However, it was an interesting experience that confused my teammates, no doubt.
Yes.
Because I didn't tell them what I was doing exactly, so they're like, anyway, we'll get to that. So there's a story as to my experience this week. And we've, of course, got a, let's see, our experiences, and we've got a rookie tip for you guys as well. And, like I said, and news is kind of all-encompassing. We've got some show stuff. We've got some iRacing stuff. We've got some promotion stuff. All kinds of stuff. Stuff. Yeah. So, getting into the news, ladies and gentlemen, we have we're going to start off with an email from a listener. And you know that we always enjoy when you guys interact with us via Twitter and emails and all the good stuff. So here's an email from listener Gary Corbett. And he says, "Good morning, guys. Love the show and was listening to the show from the 17th of July. And you were talking about Gregor Hutu getting to drive the Star Mazda, which we'd mentioned, talking about his 50th win. And what an interesting read the article was. It doesn't sound like you were aware that there is a two-part video that documents the whole thing in the iRacing TV video archive called The World's Fastest Alien, which I think you actually even used that term, if I remember correctly, when we were talking about it. That's me talking to Chad, not the email. Bye.
I'm so confused. Who's talking?
All right, so what he said was called The World's Fastest Alien. Stop email. I turn to Chad and say, "Hey, Chad, I think you even said The World's Fastest Alien while we were talking about Gregor Hutu."
Really?
Back to email. Back to what Gary says. He says, "It is very interesting, and actually it's the video that brought iRacing to my attention in the first place. I was immediately sold and joined iRacing a couple of days later. Anyway, just want to make sure you knew about the video. If you haven't seen it, it is great. Keep up the good work. I will be listening." And that's from Gary Corbett again. And that was just an oversight on our behalf. Yes, we were aware of the video. We just completely spaced on mentioning it when we were talking about it. But if you haven't seen it, then yes, most definitely go and check that out. I will dig it up and put a link in the show notes for you guys. But it's on iRacing's actual official YouTube page, I believe, so you can probably find it pretty easy yourself. But I'll put a link in the show notes. I'll do the Googling for you. Let me Google that for you. Yeah, and then I'll put a link in the show notes for everybody.
Cool. I'm excited about this. Get to Google stuff for me.
Wow, that was some. You were bringing your inner Kimi Räikkönen there. Just stop talking.
Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. Yes. So that was, as Trevor said, a mishap on. And actually, I remember when we were talking about that. I actually was sitting there thinking, oh, and I remember in the video they showed where he threw up on like the first lap that he went out there. And like I thought about saying that, and then somehow we got distracted, or well, I did anyways. And I think we went to another subject or something, so I didn't end up saying that. Because I remember that specifically about the video, because it was like my favorite part.
Gross.
Well, I mean, not just because it was funny.
But it wasn't actually the fact that we had you have to forgive us for being slightly distracted, because it was actually just an aside that just popped up as part of the conversation. So it wasn't in the show notes, man. So I didn't know what to say. That's something I need a script.
Obviously. Now, one thing, we'll jump right into another show listener that also emailed us this past week, and that was Scott Walter, and he had some tips about things with our website and stuff, and just some things that he would like to see moving forward with either the show or the website. And most of them, we either had a legit reason why we weren't doing it, or already kind of are doing it. But there was one thing that he did bring to my attention that I thought maybe we should mention. Obviously, not all of you necessarily listen to our show through the website, and you typically, might download it on iTunes or somewhere and listen to it. But for those of you that do use the website, when you're getting ready to listen to a show, so for example, this one, while you're listening right now, ha ha, creepy, it's from the future. So when you're listening on the website, that big black bar going across the screen there is where you can play and see how much time is left and pause it and yada yada yada. Mm-hmm. Well, he was saying that he wanted to go look at pages like, for example, the About Us page or the About the Show page, and just kind of surf our site. And when he did that, the podcast obviously would stop playing because, hey,
he was on a different page now.
Exactly. So he was suggesting that we have some kind of open a new tab thing. But one thing that I wanted to point out is that the podcast, where the big black bar is, I just mentioned, directly below that, it gives you the option to download. It also shows you the length of it, I think, and the size of the file. But there's also a little thing there that says open, or I think it's something like open a new tab or new window or something
Yeah, I
like
think it's
that.
yeah, opening a new window. I think here.
Yeah. And basically, that'll open the actual podcast in a new tab slash window. And then you're free to do whatever the heck you want on the website. And you got the podcast in a completely separate window. So you can go surfing all over the internet and not lose the podcast. So it's just something that I thought was kind of a neat thing to point out that has always been there, but we just never really talked about. And of course, that, and actually, it's funny because I know that I remember a long time ago I listened to one of the shows and I did it through the website, and the same thing happened to me. I was sitting there and I was listening to the show and I was all excited, and I think it was getting to one of the good parts of that particular show, and then I like clicked on to go somewhere else, and it was just like Trevor was like mid sentence, and it was just like, and I was like, oh, where'd it go? And then I realized, oh, I killed it.
What did I do? I did
So
bad.
definitely wanted to throw that out there and appreciate Scott actually bringing that to our attention. So, and of course, Scott wants to know A, when the golf tournament is, and he digs the show. So, thank you, Scott, for the suggestions and for the email and for the love
Aw,
and for
love.
digging us.
Yes, and we'll talk about the golf tournament in a few
In a
minutes.
bit. Yeah. Now, switching gears, haha, haha.
It's a show about car racing, and you said gears.
Wasn't that funny? So one of the things that we love here at the iRacing Today radio show is endurance racing. And as a result of said endurance racing, we've mentioned before things, well, not things, but series like Masters of Endurance, for example, which is a, for better or for worse, is a league for endurance racing. And then there's also another one, which is called the NEO Endurance Series, which is a series that I follow on Twitter, and they are constantly tweeting out cool updates and just a lot of neat stuff, like news stuff. And they're, hopefully I'm going to say this correctly, but they're the Nile and Edgel organization, which is what NEO stands for. But they are, again, like Masters of Endurance, a league for endurance racing. But they're getting ready to start season 2, and they've released their details. So I wanted to mention it on the show just in case you are into that endurance racing, but maybe aren't wild about doing it in the official servers that iRacing puts up, which aren't totally official because iRating doesn't count. But if you're into this sort of thing, give it a try. If you're already a part of it, wish you well in season 2. But they've made their season a bit longer. They're going to have, looks like about 7 races, which will tour Sebring, and which is the first race on October 18th. And basically, the thing I like about these guys is they go once per month. So every month you've got something to race in. After Sebring, Circuit of the Americas, then Watkins Glen, Spa, Interlagos, Monza, and the Nürburgring. The races vary between 6 and 8 hours. So they're not super, super long, but they're not too short either. And you have to have a minimum of 2 drivers and up to 6. So looks like a pretty good league if you would like to go and give it the old whirl. And we'll have a link in the show notes to their website.
Well, see, and it's funny too because you were talking about they tweet out a bunch of stuff, and I actually, while you were talking about them, I was going and making sure that I was following them as well, and I am, which is which is
A
good.
big deal around here.
We follow each other, but I happened to notice at the very top of their list, or their Twitter feed right there, they have a very interesting news story, which I was just fact checking, i.e., following all the links. And it appears that Team Redline, which I don't know if we've mentioned them before or not, but they are basically a huge team in the world of sim racing. As a matter of fact, Gregor Hutu races for that team. He races for Team Redline. They've apparently signed on, and signed on seems like such a weird term for sim racing team, but
Signed to a long-term contract.
But they have brought Max Verstappen on to race for them in the sim racing world. Now, for those who do not follow F1 racing, they might not know who Max is. Max is basically a rookie driver, well, rookie to the F1 series that has just come in this season. So he's actually racing in the F1 series. And he's kind of been a bit of a rookie sensation, to be honest with you. I've been rather impressed with him. And the fact that, so an actual F1 racer is racing for a sim racing team and presumably going to be racing through iRacing. So that's pretty dang cool.
Yeah.
Max actually, he races for Toro Rosso, which is the farm team for Red Bull. So
That's why you went down on this news thing. You just wanted to say that, didn't you?
Toro Rosso! No, but that's a... Wow, I mean that's amazing. That I guess it's one of those things where F1 just seems like more of a standout. Where when it comes to the sim racing stuff, because I mean we know there are NASCAR racers who race in iRacing, and we know that there are IndyCar racers and other disciplines. But I don't know, for some reason an F1 racer racing in iRacing just seems amazing to me. I don't know why it is. Just because it just seems to be on a different plane somehow, you know what I mean? With its series being held in that sort of prestige. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
So, breaking news. Thanks Neo Endurance for bringing that to my to my attention.
Yes, and their website, in case you don't look at the show notes, is neo-endurance.com. And
Microsoft Security Essentials has just said that it's has to do a cleanup on my system and a restart's required. So no, don't do that, please. So if I suddenly disappear, there's no button. There's just one big old button that says restart now. There's no postpone till later. I'm kind of busy. Maybe you might not want to do this now. No, it's just
exciting.
Either click this button or click the X in the corner. But I'm kind of afraid if I click the X in the corner, it'll do it anyway because it is Microsoft.
That is true.
Maybe it's maybe they just installed Windows 10 behind the scenes when I wasn't looking. I mean, I didn't ask for them to do it, but I'm just gonna leave that box there. It's not going anywheres, and it's only blocking part of the screen. Doesn't seem to be blocking any of the broadcast, so I guess we're okay.
Well, if you disappear, we know.
Yeah, I'm gonna click the X. I'm gonna do it, man. I'm gonna do it. Click the X. Okay, X. All right, I'm still here. Oh, Microsoft and Security Essentials. What are you doing to me, man? You're stressing me out during my show. It's time to go live, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, you know what? What if we did this?
We gotta kill this.
Huh? Chad's a virus. We're trying to remove him. But you know what's not a virus?
That's okay.
Greg Ives?
What?
The Dale Jr. Spotter Pack version 2.3 is ready. We've moved on to our next news item. Oh. Unless there's anything else you want to talk about the endurance racing.
Oh, no, I'm good.
We got it covered?
Yeah.
So the Dale Jr. Spotter Pack 2.3 is ready. Hear exactly what Dale Earnhardt Jr. hears on Sundays and occasionally Saturdays. With new crew chief Greg Ives on top of your pit box and one of the best in the business, TJ Majors, as we've spoken about him several times on the show, as your spotter with authentic sound clips recorded from the 88 team radio. This will replace your default spotter and greatly enhance your iRacing experience. It is designed to be used with any car and track on iRacing, although if it's anything like the Jimmy Johnson spotter pack, you'll sound really out of place when you're on a road course and not driving a NASCAR doing that because they're saying things that are related to NASCAR. Anyway, it is designed to be used with any car and track on iRacing. Like I said, you may be the in-race reporter for a race, and even Mr. H might drop in on you. That'd be Mr. Hendrick, in case you didn't know. Details are on the forums in a forum post, which I will put in the show notes, of course. So, another option in case you do not have the Jimmy Johnson spotter pack in there, or you want a difference. I'm still waiting for the for the Greg Biffle spotter pack. Nobody's made it yet. I'm sure it's a lot of it's just a lot of comments of so we're in 25th spot. I don't know, maybe pick up a couple if you could. It'd be great. I don't know. Remember when we were good? Remember that time when you won like the Infinity and the Xfinity and the Camping World Truck Championships, and you're gonna be like the first guy to win all three. Remember those times? Ah, good times, good times. I'm going for pizza. I just imagine that's what a spotter pack would sound like.
Yeah, so anyways, that Dow Junior Spreader Pack has been out for a couple weeks, but I know that it's a good one and several people enjoy having it. A lot more than they would enjoy the Greg Biffle Spotter Pack. I can assure you.
Aw.
But no offense.
Aw.
But yeah, it's true. It had to be said. So, anyways, if you're not a part of iRacing and you keep tuning into this show, first of all, thank you. Second of all, what the heck? Get on iRacing because it's awesome. There's also a summer sale, as they're calling it, but we're also going to toss in winter sale because some of you are in winter and some of us are in summer.
Wait,
that being said,
why are you taking my news item, man? It says Trevor by that one.
Because that's not
you skip
where
what
it is.
You skip what you were going to say, man.
No, I'm doing a totally different one than what you're doing.
Oh.
Read
Okay.
the words. Now that you've delayed me.
I'm just reading what's on the show notes that you made, man, and that's not the next item on there at all.
Yeah, because I just told you before the show that I didn't put it in the notes.
But then I saw the thing that was there and it looked like it, so I thought you did.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, so you can get 2 years, 1 year, or a month. I about said 6 months, but that's not true. 2 years, a year, or a month at 50% off, which means that 2 years is $89.50. That's a great deal. Like a really great deal. The 1 year deal is $49.50. And the 1 month is $6. But the biggest one, and the one that I didn't mention, is the 3 month deal. And that is currently 70% off. And this particular one, expires on August the 15th, 2015.
So you got time.
And it's only $9 for 3 months. That's a pretty good deal.
$9 for 3 months? Man.
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean,
$3 a month.
Well, yeah, I mean, you sure trying it out for a month would be a good idea, but I mean, if for $9, I mean, you might as well sign up for 3 months and give it a good shot, and and see if it's for you or not. So, yeah, that's a good deal.
So, anyways, now you can talk about your deal that you thought I was stealing from.
No, because the next item is still you, man.
Yeah, but I'm waiting until you.
Oh, okay, fair enough. But tying directly into that, if you are looking to pick up a new car or track, or maybe you want to host some league races or just some hosted rooms of fun, say, hey, you know what would be fun? Let's do all this stuff on, I don't know, let's put a bunch of various class cars on the old, I was going to say the Mazda Oval, but that's not right. The Monza Oval. That'd make a lot more sense, because trust me, that can be fun. You can pick up some bonus credits now and save yourself some cash. They have their bonus credit offer is currently available, but for a very, 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 very short period of time. Basically, if you were listening to this, go check it out now, because it's ending soon. So you have to take advantage of this offer before time runs out, which is July the 31st. And the offer is, if you purchase $20 of iRacing credits, you will get 25 total credits. So like, hey, here's $20. Or like, here's 25. Don't tell anybody. Or, if you want to go for a much better deal than that, if you purchase $75 of credits, then you will get $100 of credits in total. As mentioned, this expires on the 31st of July 2015, which is tomorrow as we're recording this, and I'll get the show up tonight. So tomorrow, as it has been posted, members may use each promo code only once. So i.e. you could do the 20 for 25 and the 75 100. You could do each of them if you wanted to. iRacing credits or iRacing dollars cannot be used to purchase these iRacing credits because that just creates some sort of infinite time loop, I believe, if you do that. So you cannot do that. Offering credits are not transferable, so you can't say, hey, I got some extra credits, man. Hey, Chad, why don't you host some rooms, man? Those codes are PR100 Credit Summer or PR25 Credit Summer, and I will leave it to you people to figure out which one's which, because you're smart people. And you and complete the purchasing process when you put one of those two codes in. So, they run this, what, 2-3 times a year. Every now and again, they'll give you a chance to get some credits. So if you're thinking, hey, you know what, there's some, I don't know, there's this thing called Nürburgring coming in soon. I should probably top up my credits so I'm ready to purchase that and get it for even cheaper and more reasonable price than if I waited. So now would be a good time to top those up and make sure you have them ready. Or, you know, if you want to do some hosted stuff, or you're running a league, this would be a great time for you know, our friends that we talked to last week, but next week, to to get some credits in their account so they can help cheapen the load of running their league. So make sure you take advantage of that if you so desire before tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yes, I usually take advantage of that one. I won't be this time, but that is a very awesome deal. One of my favorites that they run.
I think I actually still have some credits in my account right now, so I don't currently require it. But
yeah, I have some left over as well, actually, from one of those deals from like 2 years ago. Yes, so moving right along we're kind of switching gears again, but it's not as good as a segue this time.
it's not as good if you keep using the same thing, you know.
Well, it's not as good because it has nothing whatsoever to do with what I'm going to say.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it. I don't know, it's a saying.
Why?
Thing people say.
And from a Toyota commercial. So we mentioned on last week's show that we are going to have some guests on next week's show. And we are really excited about this because it has to do with league racing, probably primarily, but also official racing as well. And we are going to have a big old discussion that has to do with our current poll question, which ends tomorrow, by the way, as we're recording this, or July 31st. And so if you haven't voted, go vote really fast. But keep in mind that every month we have a discussion about the poll questions when they end. And next week's is pretty much not going to involve Trevor and I whatsoever. Except for one part where everybody didn't know what to do when Trevor talked.
That got awkward, man. I thought I was like, man, I'm making a point. Everything's great. Boom, just nailed it. And I just nailed it so good. Nobody knew what to follow it up with, man.
Yep. We just all stood there in silence. It was a classic moment on the show. I can't wait to let everybody hear it.
Wait, I still have to edit it down, so I could just edit out the awkward pause if I want, man.
Nope, not touching that part. It was perfect. Anyway, so Jacob Fife, John Hensley, and Gary Jamison will be joining us next week, or last week, or next week. But in all seriousness, it was a great interview. It is definitely the world record for the longest iRacing Today radio show interview. And it is a dandy. You won't want to miss it. It's very interesting what they all have to say about different things that we asked them. So I'm not going to tell you any more about it because you have to tune in next week.
Yep, they definitely have some different perspectives, I guess, because, you know, as opposed to us as iRacers or, you know, employees or various other people we've interviewed, this is coming from the perspective of people who have some long, some short-term run leagues, and that perspective definitely led to some very interesting conversations. So don't want to miss that episode next week for sure.
Yes. Now, moving along, I didn't say it. I changed it. It was a little bit more
switching gears.
The golf tournament that we've been talking about, this is like way different than iRacing, but the golf tournament starts technically tomorrow night, but Saturday. And that, of course, is going to run for the entire month of August. So if you have the golf club, and by the way, somebody else brought this up to me, and I can't remember who it was now, but it was on Twitter. I'll go try to find it real quick. But they wanted to know if they had the game on Xbox One, if they could still play in our tournament. And, of course, the answer is yes. Yep. And that goes for those of you who also have a PlayStation 4 and would like to play on there. Oh, it was Justin, JMichael99 is his Twitter handle. And so, yeah, PC, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, whatever you have, it'll be under the Tour section, at least I'm pretty sure it will be. And it is, I think I'm naming it iRacing Today Radio Show Tour. So that's how you can search it and find it once it launches. Like I mentioned, tomorrow, or July 31st, really late, at least in my time zone, is when I'm going to go ahead and post it because Saturday is going to be busy for me, and I will get to that in a minute. Um, but I made the course. Well, I didn't actually make it. The game made the course. I just told it what to do. And I think it's a nice course.
Do this for me, computer.
It's a little long, as some people have mentioned. That some of the par fours are a wee bit on the lengthy side. It's okay to have one or two long par fours, I think, on a course, but there are quite a few that are pretty lengthy. So I made 4 versions of the course, and so far, from what I can tell, the 2 most popular are the first 2 that people have played a lot. Nobody's really played the last 2, which is surprising to me because they're easier than the first 2.
Aw.
But anyways, random side note. So I'm not sure yet if I'm going to use all 4 of them or if I'm just going to pick the ones that I think are going to be easier, because obviously this is more about fun than it is about, oh my gosh, I'm the greatest golfer in the world. And I don't know if it would be the world's most fun tournament if everybody's shooting like 30 over par. So I'll figure it out. I'm going to look over the stats because they have like a stat page where you can look at what people are doing on your course. So I'll kind of look it over and then go from there on which ones that I pick. But I'll try to make it easy, hopefully. But anyways, moving along.
Yeah, I would say, and for any new listeners to the show, in case you're curious as to what the heck are we talking about golf for, it's just the fact that we have talked about this particular golf game a bunch over the weeks, and we've actually had a lot of listeners buy the game in order to just from hearing us talk about it. And then I had the interview with the game producer of the golf club, so we figured, hey, let's have a golf tournament for listeners of the show and kind of have another way to interact with you guys off the track. Because hey, you know what? I bet you drivers do that too. So, just in case you were you said, hey, you know what? iRacing Today radio show. I'm going to listen to that. Why are they talking about golf? Well, that's why.
Yes, there are bears and deer and wolves.
Yes, I saw that. There's a couple of your pictures are quite cute in the thing.
Yes.
And the fact that the wolf is not a static object was awesome.
Here's the deal on that, just so you're not freaked out when you make it to the 16th hole. So when you start playing your round, the whole world, the environment that you're in, just starts doing whatever it's supposed to do. So it's not like a thing where you go hole to hole and things, come to life as you go to that hole. It's like when you're on the first hole, the wolf that's on the 16th green starts walking around. So by the time that you get to that hole, it is going to be completely random where that thing is going to be. I have played the course, or the course is, I should say, like 4 or 5 times. And one time he was directly in my line of putting. One time he was like on the side of the cliff. The other time he was in the middle of the sand trap. And I mean, it's random. It's funny though. So that's your entertainment, finding where the random animals are going to be. But anyways, play those rounds. There's going to be 4 of them. Like I said, iRacing Today Radio Show Tour is where you search it. Go to Play Now Tour, and it'll be there. And if you guys want to try to work and play with me or Trevor, tweet us. If you just want to play it all on your own, go for it. But you can play on any system and have fun doing it. And we'll try to do more of these as we move along. Because these are a lot easier to do because you can play it whenever you find it convenient.
Yeah, well,
that's getting everybody together.
Yeah, and also in case, I don't think we actually even mentioned it. We're talking about the golf club is the game that we're actually talking about. Because we just got to mention, hey, we're doing our golf tournament, so come and join our golf tournament. Have fun. Late's out.
Wow. So yes, hopefully we'll have a good turnout. Now switching gears. Oh my gosh.
Oh, you did it again, dude.
So endurance racing is the big theme this weekend. Because I don't know, we're all going to the spa. Woohoo! I love saying it like that because it makes it sound like it's cool.
It's relaxing, man. I mean,
I know it's going to be a relaxing weekend going to the spa, and yet it's going to be totally opposite. But of course, it is the 6th round of the Road Warrior Series, which is an awesome series, by the way. And of course, that is the 24 hours of spa.
You were going to say do spa, weren't you? You were going to say the 24 hours do spa.
I thought about it. but I didn't. So I mentioned on last week's show that we have two teams racing this week, and we are both going to be in the HPD machine, which is, again, the first time that
Hmm.
any of our group has done that in these endurance racing. We've always been in either the BMW, the McLaren, or the Ford GT. I don't think anybody's run the rough car yet.
I don't think so. We
Um,
talked about it before, but I don't think we ever did.
yeah, so I'm pretty excited about the HPD. Yes, oh my gosh, it is, I find, way more difficult to pass the slower GT cars than vice versa, where you're the slower GT car just letting an HPD fly by you. I think especially at Spa, because in my practicing, so far it seems like I always catch the GT cars at like the worst possible time. Um, I don't know which turns it is. I don't know where anything is at Spa. I just go.
There's
Um,
that part where you go up the hill and you're going
yeah,
back and forth. Then there's that part where you go down the hill and you go back and forth.
and like there's like I think Jeff McPherson was like mentioning, oh, if you come out of this turn, and he was like naming it for what the actual turn is named, and I'm like, I don't have a flipping clue where that is. Um, for all I care, it could be down the street by the Walmart. But anyways, it is challenging. So it's going to require a lot of patience. I don't know if that's just a spa thing or if that's like always the case with HPDs. Obviously, those of you that have raced the HPD a lot will know better. But the thing that's going to be tricky, I think, for all of us is that when we're kind of alone and there's not really any traffic ahead of us, we got to be running like as hard as possible to, get good lap times and things like that. But then there's a flip side to it where you get behind GT cars and you're going to have to show a butt ton of patience. So
Well,
it's going to be
yeah, I was
challenging.
gonna say, and that's the thing. I mean, if we can give you any advice for what's going on there, I mean, we're talking about a 24-hour race,
Yeah.
people, and it is a big track. So,
Yes.
I mean, and there are, I don't know, let's go with a buttload of wrong places to catch slower cars on that track. So,
Yes.
you you get a few hours into that race. It's not like the person you're chasing for a position is likely on your tail at that point in time. You're going to be so spread out. You know what? Give the slow car the corner and just pass them when it's safe to do so, rather than putting yourself in a bad spot and then everybody's yelling at everybody because all of a sudden, oh no, now your race is ruined because you just had to pass that. You said, well, I just figured I'd just dive bomb him into the corner and
Yeah.
he'd just go off into the dirt and let me by. Well, you know what? Not gonna happen.
And here's one thing that does scare me, and I think it's just because it's practice and maybe they didn't have a spotter or something. But there's been a couple of times where I've been passing a GT car, like that part where you start going back down the hill at Spa, like the really long downhill part.
Hmm.
That turn right there to the left, I had gotten to the right side of the GT car, which technically going into a left-handed turn was not the preferred line. But I went over there because I knew that once we got through that left-hander and going down the hill, I would just blow him out of the water because the car's just faster. So I was like, okay, this will work out. And I gave him plenty of room and did everything. And he just proceeded to come right into my lane and hit me and knocked me straight in the fence. And then the best part, he complained because he was like, "Really, dude?" And I was like, and I didn't respond because I don't ever do that.
Hmm.
But in my head, I was thinking, redirect that at yourself, I guess,
Was
because
that some sort of
I didn't do
self-deprecation? It's like,
anything.
really, dude?
I know. Because I was just on the right side. I didn't move at all, and then I just got doink and right into the fence. So that part scares me a little bit because GT cars almost act like we're not even there, and I'm scared to do that in a 24-hour race. But hopefully that's just because no spotters or anything, and it is practice anyway, so it didn't matter. But yeah, I also had one really cool move that I actually put on Twitter, and it's
Oh,
a
yeah, I saw
8 second
that.
video. And that was fun because I think it was a rough car that had spun. It was kind of in the middle of the track, and there was an HBD in front of me. And I guess he just decided to slow down because he wasn't sure where the rough car was going to go. And I came around the turn, and I was pretty much going full speed. I slowed down just a little bit to get through the turn, and I come out of the turn, and I see the smoke, and my spotter had already said, the game spotter was already like, hey, there's a slow car off the track or something. but I just ignored it because that's who I am. And I come around the
Because
turn and I'm
that's
like,
how I roll.
yeah. And I look and I'm like, there's really nowhere for me to go. But I still stayed in it because I was like, well, it's practice, so if I wreck, who cares? And then suddenly the seas parted, and it was perfect. So Trevor has to put that in the show notes because it was great.
Yeah, I'll have to find that. That was yeah, that was. It's like, well, and your expression, or the emoticons you put into the post, it was like, it's like, oh no, 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 ah, it was
Yeah.
like,
So that was a cool moment. Something that I would not do in the race, but for practice, it was cool.
but in any event, the that race is happening starting this Friday and
No, this Saturday.
Saturday, derp. This Saturday, well, maybe it's this Friday in GMT.
No, it's
No.
Saturday.
All right, fine. Um, we have, as Chad mentioned, we have two teams that are going to be racing in there, and if you follow our Twitter feeds, you know what those two teams look like. But one of those two teams will be racing the 54 car, which is a pretty red car, and that will consist of team members Larry Hale, Danny Resser, Adam Halleck, Jason Fissett, and Jeff McPherson. And what about the other team there, Chad?
Yeah, we're going to be in car 55, and it's going to be a gold car instead of red. And we have four drivers, which is myself. I'm not going to tell my name because it's pretty obvious. And then we have Tim Johnston.
You know who I am.
I made you, yeah, leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. Have I mentioned that I'm wearing this shirt? But yeah, myself, Tim Johnston, and Dean Mull, and Roy Clark. So the four of us are going to do the best we can. We're all doing a pretty good job in practice so far as speed goes, but again, speed is not everything. With this one, it'll be a lot of patience as well. Yeah.
Well,
So
I was going to
Tim-
say more so than the
Than ever.
24-hour race we did at Daytona, for sure, I think.
Yes. Lots of room at Daytona, not so much room at Spa. So the neat thing is, this is what I love about endurance racing, is that Tim is going to start for us, and we're all doing basically 3-hour stints, two each. Tim's going to qualify, he's going to start the race for us, and then Dean will get in the car, and then I'm going to get in the car. The thing that I love, it fascinates me, and it may sound silly and some of you may not get it, but I'm literally going to go, I think it's like 6 hours basically, is going to go by before I ever get in the car. And like that, I don't know. For some reason, that all fascinates me about this endurance racing. It's like, and even Tim, for example, he's starting the race and then he's ending the race. So Tim is going to start the 24-hour race, go for 3 hours, and then 18 hours is going to elapse before Tim ever gets back in the car. So I don't know. Something about that just fascinates me with this endurance racing. And it also fascinates me that it always comes down to like the last 10 minutes of the race, even though you've been racing for that long.
Well, I mean, it also fascinates me, like, quite frankly, that we have such a great group of guys, in our team that we're fielding two teams. Like,
Yeah.
that still amazes me that we've got such great people to race around our banner, so to speak. Around all formed around the television show. Oh, by the way, new announcement: we're going to have a television show coming up.
Channel 160.
It's a rom-com. I mean, it's a bit awkward because but
Oh my goodness.
but anyway, there was something else I was going to mention about the
Well,
race.
there's a couple of things that I would like to mention.
All right.
Number
Please
one,
do.
that oh, I was going to anyways. Number one is that you can follow our Twitter feed, which is at IRTM Team, and you can keep up with our race all throughout the race. But there's also going to be, I don't know if Adam is going to stream the whole race, but I'm sure he'll stream at least his parts. Jason has said that he plans to do the whole race with the stream, so their team, the 54 car, you can see on all that, and keep up with their race if you would like to. And I think somebody might know something about our car and possibly streaming it.
Yeah.
Putting somebody in particular on the spot.
As we mentioned last week, I'm not going to be participating in the race just because of the way my family schedule has rolled out over the last few weeks. I've been very busy, and I didn't feel it was very fair to my family to take out another chunk of time after I just recently finished my 24-hour gaming stream for Extra Life and raising money for the Alberta Children's Hospital. And again, thank you very much for everybody who helped with that. We're over $700, and I'm still getting occasional donations to that, so that's awesome. But anyway, I'm allowed to plug it after it's happened.
No, I wasn't laughing at you. Totally separate thing.
But anyway, so I'm not going to be actually racing, but what I am going to do is I am going to attempt to stream the whole race from, you said, who's it you said that was going to be doing it from your point of view? Or who's the guys who are actually going to be streaming already?
Jason and Adam, but they're doing the 54 car, so nobody's doing the 55
Okay,
right now.
that's what I just want to make sure. So I'm going to...
Which is why I put you on the spot.
All right. So anyway, I will go and attempt to stream the entire 24 hours for the 54 team.
Nope.
Nope, 55? 54?
Yes.
54? 54? Wait.
Go on, sold. 55.
55.
Why do we even have you on the card or on the team? This is ridiculous.
Because I'm the owner. I started the bloody team. I get to be here no matter what happens.
The 55 car is the one that you would be streaming.
So I will be streaming the car that has Chad, Roy, Tim, and Dean in it. So I will attempt to stream the whole thing. I will do my best to give some various car angles and stuff as opposed to just the static ones, although it is going to be a... for the most part, unmanned stream. It's just going to be my computer kind of chugging away down here. So, although I did upgrade my internet this week, so I do have a little bit more bandwidth. So hopefully that will help with the upstream because my up pipe is about twice the size now. So hopefully that will help and make sure that everything runs nice and smooth, or it'll all come crashing to the ground. Either way, I'll do my best to provide you guys with some entertainment, so you can check in while you're checking in the Twitter feeds and seeing how everybody's doing. You can check the streams and see how they're doing too. So that will be on my channel, which is, of course, over at Ratface Productions, 2 T's in Ratface.
And you're going to have TeamSpeak up too, right?
Yes, I will bring up the TeamSpeak so you can hear the talk between all of the different drivers, and you'll have so you can hear. So you can hear Andy say, "Hey, Chad, I got an idea for you," and Chad be all like, "Shut up! I know what I'm doing."
Poor Andy. Yes. Anyways, so that'll be cool with the streams. That's probably one of my favorite parts when I'm not in the car is, just being able to have like a laptop and then an iPad over here watching, both cars go and do their thing, around the track. It really really helps, especially with me, in this case, being a driver, kind of keeping up with what the car's doing. So I can see it visually instead of just reading tweets about it. So, and speaking of tweets, John Hensley is also going to be there and Andy, as unofficial race engineers throughout the race at sporadical times. John has been given the key to our hearts. No, he's been given the key to the IRTM. I know, IRTM Twitter. So he'll be helping with tweeting, and supposedly he's making sandwiches. Although I think Dean ruined it because Dean got all like, "Hey, does he have our shipping addresses to send the sandwiches?" And then John took that as a way to get out of making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So I don't like Dean right now because I don't get jelly on my sandwich, and I worked very hard to get that.
Yeah, but we like Dean. We're glad Dean's part of our team.
He took away all the jelly, and I wanted jelly.
You can't take away a man's jelly and expect him to forgive you. At least not right away.
So just for that, I'm going to wreck the car before I give it back to him. No.
Hey, Dean, how's your jelly now? By the way, your left tire's over in that field.
You have to run out there right now and go get it. In between the other 59 cars, which, by the way, it's a 60-car field this week at Spa, so that makes it even more fun.
How is that even... I don't even understand how that's going to be possible.
Well, that's why you're going to stream it.
Man, even if I wasn't streaming it, I think I'd get up just for the start of that, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Like, are you... Like, because they've never done that size of field. 60.
Yeah, 60.
60 cars.
Mm-hmm. You can ask Nim Cross.
That's ridiculous.
That's why I put Tim in the car first.
By the way,
Like, hey, Tim, you available? Cool, go drive. Oh, by the way, there's only going to be 59 other cars. But you didn't hear that from me.
uh-huh. Ah.
But that doesn't mean, that there's actually going to be 60 in the race. But that is the up to
Right.
point.
That's
Just FYI. So I don't want people to think, oh my gosh, there's going to be 59 other cars. Ah!
all right. And we have it from Nim Cross has confirmed that it is indeed true. 60 cars in that field. That is going to be man. Nim's going to be busy after that because imagine the protests after turn 1.
Yes. Well, not even turn 1, but like all the turns.
I'm just thinking lap 1, turn 1. Here comes the emails.
Especially depending where, because I guess we would. Is it it's a rolling start. So I guess you would get, in the start finish line is right after that little chicane. Wow, you're gonna go through that tiny chicane, the last 2 turns there, and then you're gonna go up to, you go down the straightaway, and then you're gonna go down to that hard right-handed, like I don't even know what. Like 120-degree turn.
Yep.
That's going to be fun.
Man, I blow that turn. Like anytime I'm practicing spot, like I blow that turn all the time.
Yes.
But there's some good runoff there, so.
Yeah, but they give you a 1x because they don't want you to run too far off.
I'd rather
By the way,
a
speaking of which-
1x than my left tire in the field over there.
There's a lot of places to get a 1x at Spa. It's almost kind of annoying. Like all these little areas that you would think are runoffs, you just kind of run off and it's like, oh, 1x. 1x, oh, 1x, 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 1x. I mean, really, that's what it's like. It's kind of like, no, stop.
Oh, my safety rating. It hurts. It hurts.
I don't want the 1Xs. Keep them. But yeah, in all seriousness, I'm looking forward to this. I love the 24-hour races. I mean, I love any of the endurance races, especially the 6 hours at the Glen. That was a blast. But these, like the 24-hour races, always fascinate me. And actually, I showed one of my coworkers this week at work that video I talked about where I split those 2 cars. And while I was doing that, a couple of other coworkers had no clue that I played iRacing because I don't normally talk about it. Not that it's like, oh my gosh, I play iRacing, that's such a crime, but just because it's not really something that I go around talking about. So their interest peaked. And one of the things that, while I was showing the guy a video, I was like, so me and my friends were practicing for our 24-hour race at Spa this weekend. And as soon as they heard that, they were like, you guys race for 24 hours? And so then I went through the whole, spill about what it was, what the racing is about. So, it's always fun to have that conversation with somebody about, yeah, we can race for 24 hours, the same car, 4, 5, 6 people, depending on the team, from all over the world. And then I was telling them with this exact example. I was like, me and another guy just did the 6 hours at the Glen, and he's from Australia, and I'm in North America. So it's like, that's like the opposite ends of the world, and we raced the exact same car for 6 hours and won. So, it's just so much fun to tell them that story. It's really cool. Not the story necessarily about the Glen, but I'm just talking about endurance racing.
Yep.
In general.
Like I said, I mean, when it was first coming out, I mean, I was talking to the tech I was working with on a job. We're just, you have time for idle chat. It's like, hey, because he knows I do the podcast and stuff, so I talk to him about it all the time. And it's like, oh yeah, now we're going to have this endurance racing stuff, and I explain it all to him. And even people who don't sim race or don't even game, like they just think that's amazing.
It is. I mean, 24 hours. Like, you know what you can do in 24 hours?
I know I can raise $788 for the Alberta Children's Hospital. I know I can do that much.
I mean, like, Tim could do his 3 hours, fly across the country, fly back across the country, and then do his last 3 hours. Like, I mean, there's all kinds of things you could do in 24 hours. And, like, and the way that iRacing has it set up, it's as if you never left. It's as if you've been sitting there the whole time. pretty cool.
It is.
It really is.
I mean, and it amazed me because I remember when this was, the big buzz when it was first coming out, and we were talking about it, and, it was one of those things where I was one of the people on the fence of, I don't get why this is such a big thing, this driver swap thing. Like I was, admittedly,
dummy.
you go back to the old episodes and I was one of the people
Yeah.
saying, okay, I get that it's kind of cool, but I don't understand why it's such a big deal to people. And then it came out, and then we did some endurance racing, and then it was like, holy crap, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah, and I really wish, and I'm only saying this because Nim is here. I really wish that they would add more. Like, even if we just make up races, like, I don't know, the 12 hours at Monza. I mean, who cares if it's based off the real thing? Let's do more, because this is fun. It really is. I'm being serious. Like, one a month would be cool with me.
True.
Different hours.
See, then I wouldn't feel so guilty about missing. Like I'm bummed that I'm missing 24 hours at Spa. But like I said, it was the best choice for me. But I'll catch the next one. Like I really want to do some more longer races because I mean that one we did at Daytona was one of the most. It was one of the most amazing gaming experiences I've ever had. Doing that with you guys and and actually finishing the race, was just awesome. So
yeah.
But anyway, I think we should we're gonna have a whole bunch more to talk about endurance racing next week because the race will have happened. Oh, that's the week with the 15-hour interview with those three guys.
Interview. Yeah. So when we said it was the world's longest, we meant we were doing a 24-hour show. Man, that would be bad. Yeah. So that'd be fun. Hopefully, we'll have a good review. Well, recap is a better word.
Yes.
On next week's show.
One side note, I've kind of almost jokingly brought it up a couple times, but unfortunately, the way Twitch kind of deletes files, I kind of lost some of my 24-hour stream, so I will have some of it up, the beginning, a little bit in the middle, and then the end kind of thing. Unfortunately, it got deleted before I got to chop it all down to pieces, which makes me sad because I missed some of the fun parts, i.e. the golf is gone, the wrestling is gone.
What? That was like the best part.
I know. So
and
sadly,
the most hilarious part.
I know. Sadly, that it will not be on my YouTube channel because I was too slow to get it all
You're killing me, Trevor.
chopped up. I know.
We can't be friends anymore.
It was sad, but hey, I'll have a new 20. I'll make sure to make a 24-hour. I'll just make here's a 24-hour video on YouTube. Just go. I'm not going to chop it down because I don't have time for that. Apparently, I just lose it if I do that. But anyway. Let's see here. Should we go for our rookie tip, or should we do our experiences to which order do you want to do things? The last two items on the show here.
I don't know. I've been talking a while, so maybe you could talk.
Okay.
Now.
Let's talk about Indy this week. We talk about her. Well. Okay. Fine, man.
It's my job to argue with you.
You're so fired. So.
Okay, that's fine.
This week, the Power Series went to Indianapolis with the Cup cars, and I had raced the previous week, like I had talked about, and like I said, had a great time, and had a decent showing of it. And I'm thinking they were only I think that was week 4 into the season, so it's like, you know what? I'm not that far out. I'm not going to make all the races, but I should probably try to get as many points as I can. So. Come the Sunday just passed, and it was Indy, and it's a track that I really like driving in the Cup car, well, and the Indy car as it turns out as well. But the problem was, I was here with only my youngest daughter, and my wife was out, and I had nobody to watch Mackenzie, and so it's like, okay, I can't really commit to racing. But I want to at least start. So in my brain, I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'll start the race. I'll park the car. I'll do a lap. I'll be a start and park. I'll be a small time team. And last place points are better than not showing up points. It's like, all right, so let's do this. So I went down, got everything set up. No practice laps at all because it doesn't matter. I'm just going to run a lap, park the car. I'm not going to qualify, so I'm going to start at the back. So anyway, so I'm, it's like, you know what, this would be too easy to do. And, so I got in the car, Mackenzie came down and sat down beside me and said, okay, here we go. And I, I cut the car, went out, did the pace lap. She's sitting there. She's okay. In case you forgot, Mackenzie's my youngest daughter. She's 9, but she's the one with Down syndrome and autism. So her attention span isn't too great when it comes to sitting there. So all right. So she's sitting there and she's kind of watching. Like, okay, I think we're okay. I'm gonna at least try a little bit and do some driving here. So I did the pace lap. The race started. I kind of pulled off to make sure I wasn't in anybody's way because this is literally the first laps I've actually raced at Indianapolis in the Cup car for several builds. So I have no idea what the setup is. I have no idea how it's gonna go. The only thing I got to go on is that I just watched the actual Brickyard race. So it's like, well, I know they were breaking into 1 and 3, and I know they were just kind of coasting through 2 and 4 in order to get in order to get the gas off the turn. So I'll just try that. That was my plan basically. So anyway, so Mackenzie's sitting there, and everything's fine. Then all of a sudden the race starts. It's like, okay, we're going. Everything's great. I took it a little easy on the first couple corners, and I'm keeping up with everybody. It's like, oh, all right, so. Okay, I actually got the groove.
I know what I'm doing.
I got the groove for this. Yeah, everybody needs to shut up. I know what I'm doing, apparently. So I'm going. Now, meanwhile, Mackenzie, she's very kind of detail, schedule sort of orientated. So if you ever do anything that's not the same way that you've always done it, she'll let you know, and she gets very upset if you don't. So all of a sudden, she starts reaching over at me. And I'm trying to, because she's staring at the screen, she's staring at my wheel, she's staring at me, she's kind of seeing what I'm doing, and then she starts reaching over towards me and kind of reaching into my lap. And it's like, okay, no, Kenzie, you can't, because I wasn't, where I could pull off. I couldn't really just pull off the track right there, because that was my plan. It's like, because I was on the backstretch, and she was reaching over. It's like, okay, no, Kenzie, you can't do that. And then I realized what she was doing. What she was attempting to do was buckle my seatbelt, because she saw that I was driving, and she is like, when we get in the van, anytime if somebody in that van does not put on their seatbelt, she will yell at them, and she will refuse, like, you cannot leave the driveway because somebody's not doing this right. And I was thinking it's what she's doing. She's staring at the screen. She's staring at the wheel. It's like, Dad's driving. He needs a seatbelt on. And she was reaching and trying to find the seatbelt in my cockpit because I was doing it wrong.
Yes.
Once I informed her there was no seatbelt, she was okay with that. So she kind of sat back, and I ended up getting the first 23 laps in before she had decided that she had had enough and she was bored. It's like, all right, well, that's better than I thought it was going to happen. And then as it happens, as she was starting to get up and get bored, a caution came out. It's like, okay. So I pulled into my pit stall, got out of the car, and got up and walked away, kind of thing. Meanwhile, Chad had pinged me a private message me. It's like, are you getting on TeamSpeak? Because you showed up. It's like, no, I'm just a starting parker. I'm just, all right. So I get up and I go and carry on with my night. Meanwhile, my wife, she was off doing. I'd mentioned she does helps with the Ronald McDonald House here at the Children's Hospital, a going theme, and cooks dinner for them every now and again with their church group. So that's where she was. So she comes back. And when she came home, it's like, okay, she has eyes on the kids. I just kind of came down and poked my head in and looked and kind of saw the standings. It's like, huh, well, it looks like a couple laps after I stopped the car, well, these two guys must have gotten to something because they're out of the race. It's like, and then a few, like 5-6 laps after that, these guys are out of the race. It's like, I kind of calculated out. It's like, if I get on there and I run like 15 laps, I'll gain like 4 or 5 spots. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's in the spirit of league racing, and it wasn't my intention. My intention was just truly just to race, do a lap, and park the car. But opportunity presented itself, so, and my car was in perfect shape because I hadn't done anything to it yet. I mean, those 23 laps are clean. So, went upstairs, like, do you mind watching the kids? I know you just got back, but can you watch the kids for like 15, 20 minutes? Because I got something I got to go do. So I came down, and then I raced till the end of the race, which ended up being another, I think for me, 20 laps or so. I ended up 52 laps down, I think it was. So, and ended up going, actually, I don't know where I finished up. I think it was like 23rd, 24th, something like that. But But anyway, yeah, that was my adventures in Indy, and I was disappointed. Like, I was disappointed that I wasn't going to be able to do the Indy race because I enjoy that car, track combination. But then when I got out there with zero practice, and I hadn't practiced only because I knew I wasn't going to make the race. If I, knew I was going to make the race, I would have done some, made some laps. But it was zero practice, and I was able to keep up with people. Like at the end of the race, like I was backing off and letting people go because, like, I'm 52 laps down. I'm not going to get in the middle of anything right now. It's like I'm just going to, you go, because I'm not going to ruin anybody's race here. I am just making laps. Like, I am the prime example of just making laps. So, but yeah, with no practice, no nothing, like I was keeping up with people, and I bet you if I had had, a little bit of practice and could have actually raced the race, I would have had a good finish out of that, I bet, because it was, like, I was surprised at how well I was actually handling the track with zero practice, because, me, I'm not a good cold racer. Like I'm not like Chad and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go race this car track combination that I haven't raced in like, 9 months and, go out and win a race. I'm all like, I haven't raced. Oh no, crash. I have to get at least a few, like I have to go into a practice thing for at least a half hour before I go race, hit the wall a bunch of times to get it out of my system before I know I can actually go in there and not. So, but anyway, yeah, in the end, got some points, had some fun. It was a, from my perspective, and this is, me and Chad were talking about this before the race. It was kind of funny where, from my perspective, I jumped in, raced 23 laps. Everything worked great. We had a caution at that point in time. I don't know what it was for. I wasn't, I don't think I was anywhere near it at the time. Yeah, it was on the front stretch. Somebody had stopped, and I, kind of, maneuvered around them. Actually, I ended up stopped right against them. They were up against the wall, and when I went to go low to go around them, like we were slowed down at that point in time, there was already somebody there. So I basically just kind of stopped, butted up against them, but they weren't moving yet, and I couldn't get between them and the wall. So I actually put the car in reverse, like, just and then around. Probably looked foolish to anybody around there. It's like, well, he's still there, so I got to go around him. But anyway. So, yeah, for me, first 23 laps, everything was hunky-dory. And then when I came in and did the last bunch of laps, everything was fine. I think there may have been a caution there. I don't remember. But everything was...
There was.
Everything was fine at the end. Like, it seemed like a great race. So from my perspective, it was a good evening of racing. Now, I understand... that's not really what happened because in the time when I was upstairs being a dad, things went off, Chad, and perhaps you can fill in the gap on that one.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to start out by saying that because I don't run my F3 box or check any of my black boxes ever to see what anybody's doing, I had no clue that Trevor did all of that. All I thought was that Trevor showed up and literally was starting and parking, which... I then thought to myself, well, that seems like a really stupid idea because he's not even running for points. So why would you start and park? And then, not even kidding you, had no clue that he ran the first 23 laps. Never ever saw him on the racetrack. We get down towards the end of the race. John Hensley sends me a private chat messages, or not messages, but just a message and says, what happened to Trevor? So I'm thinking, oh, well, he sees him parked in pit road or not in the server anymore. And he's thinking, well, what's going on? I didn't see Trevor wreck. So I respond, he's starting parked. To which John Hensley sends me back a message saying, he's on the racetrack. And I'm like, he is?
And I forgot to mention that. Did you mean to say that over TeamSpeak or over the actual channel? Because I didn't see his messages to you.
Yeah, I just, instead of typing back, I just hit the voice chat.
Okay, because it was weird because nobody asked you a question, and then all of a sudden you just on the public team radio just said, "Yeah, he started and parked." Like, and I'm thinking it's like,
what?
Why would you say this? Because I was back by that point in time. I was like, that seems like a weird thing to just say out of the blue.
Yeah, I had no clue. I really did. I had no idea that you were on the track whatsoever. And then that last caution that flew, I actually came back out, and there you were, right in front of me. And I almost played bumper car with you because I typically do that with Trevor when we're on the track. I will kind of quiet. I mean, I don't do it like bad. I'll pull up behind Trevor and give him a little love tap. A little 0x car contact pops up, and that's all I ever do. And I thought about doing it, but then I was like, well, it'll be my luck that I'll screw something up and we'll all wreck. But um, that was the first time when John said that he was on the track that I had any freaking clue that Trevor was actually there. Because I literally thought that he had started and then parked. Which again, I thought, why? That seems really dumb. But now it all makes sense. So I'm glad that you were there for the 48 laps or whatever it was.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I mean, I'm not really racing for points, but like I
Yeah.
said, I mean, I'm going to make as many races as I can, and it's like, well, why not get any points when I can at least get some? I mean, hey, who
Yeah.
knows? I mean, maybe I might get a decent finishing out of it.
Yeah. But yeah, so far as the race goes, there was some aggressive driving. And I've raced in the Power Series a lot, and there has been times, as there is with every situation in racing, where, things get a little hairy and people drive a little aggressively and wrecks may happen, and then people might yell at the person, oh my gosh, you wrecked my car, and blah, blah, blah. That happens occasionally, but this seemed to be the theme of the night. I just saw a lot of stuff. Like there were even a couple of moments where there wasn't even a wreck, but it was like I'm trying to. I mean, I'm not making up an example. This is actually what really happened. But try to picture this in your minds. A guy's following a guy. They go into turn one, for example, and the guy behind kind of he didn't necessarily dive bomb, but he went to the bottom, and it was a clean pass. Except when they got into the turn, it's like he just drove right into the side of the guy when they were dead side by side, which caused, of course, the outside car to go way up the track and have to slow way down. And it just seemed very like at first I thought, well, maybe that was just a weird internet glitch, but then I saw it like two or three times, and I'm thinking that can't be a weird internet glitch. That has to be that they're just booting them out of the way, kind of thing. So it just seemed really dumb the way that I guess some of the racing was going on. And some people got into some wrecks that made them upset, which is, again, a typical thing, but it seemed to really boil over quickly on this night, which I find funny because it's Indy. And it was like the easiest setup with like the perfect weather, and it's Indy, and yet everybody was having problems. And I don't get it because it was really quite the simple race. So I don't know how many cautions there were, but there were a little more than there should have been. I mean, it wasn't like we were under 10 cautions or something, but it was a weird night. I think a full moon was out, but not sure. Um, for me personally, the race was very interesting. And it's almost the perfect description of why I think I'm the Matt Kenseth of iRacing, because I started in fifth, which is a little different than Matt Kenseth. But I start fifth, and on lap two or three, somewhere in there, I came off turn two and completely clobbered the outside wall, which was my own fault and I knew I was going to. Like I was in the middle of the turn, and I said I'm about to hit the wall. Not even close to hitting the wall. I was in the middle of the turn, and I knew I was going to hit the wall because of the way the car went through the turn. And I checked up, tried not to hit it, but it still destroyed it. Surprisingly, though, it was a 0x,
Hmm.
which still to this moment baffles me. And we actually had a caution not too long after that, and when I pitted, I had like 21 and a half or 22 seconds of optionals, which again baffled me. But before that caution came out, and after I hit the wall, I think I was like running fifth or sixth, I started losing a lot of time in a lot of positions. Um, my momentum actually wasn't hurt that bad when I hit the wall, but the car felt like it was down on speed. So I think I backed up to like 10th or 11th. Caution comes out, I fix it. So then I immediately went all the way to the last, or whatever last was, and came back out, and I think it was like 23rd, 24th, and we go green again. And I kind of made up a few spots. We had a caution, made up a couple of spots because people pitted. And I think I stayed out. I stood out, yeah, because that's correct.
I got out of my car, stood there, shook my finger at other people.
Yeah, leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. Get out of my way. So, man, between that and switching gears, that's been the theme of the night. So, I just quietly made my way back up through the field, and there was a part where we got a pretty good long green flag run, and Larry was in there, one of our teammates, and I had talked about, how I didn't think the car was the same. It handled well, but it just seemed to be down on speed, and he asked me, he was like, "Is the car okay?" He said something like, "What's the verdict? Is the car okay?" And I was like, "Well, that's actually the perfect word. The car is just okay. Like, it doesn't seem to be bad, but it doesn't seem to be good enough that I can get a top 5." And I basically told him at that point, I was like, "I think I can get a top 10. That's just kind of what I'm thinking. 7th, 8th, ninth, somewhere in there." And in my mind, I was like, that'll be a good day. I'll salvage that. I'll go to the next one. We'll try not to hit the wall and, do a better job. And just as we kept going, and we started getting into some long green flag runs at least. Again, if you don't know, they do that 70% fuel cap thing, so fuel runs are less than normal in this series. And so every full fuel run,
Full fuel run. Fuel run.
yeah, full fuel run. I seemed to just be getting better, which was weird because the car still seemed down on power to me, but I kept getting faster and faster. And when we got down to about 30 to go, I literally became, I think anyways, like the fastest car on the track, if not 1 or 2, 3, somewhere in there, top 3 fastest car. And like I kept gaining spots, and I drove like from 5th or 6th all the way up into like 3rd and then into 2nd, and then suddenly I was in the lead. And I kind of thought, wow, have I just gotten better, or have these guys gotten worse, or what's going on? Because I didn't understand why suddenly my car was just that much faster, because I felt like it was way off speed from hitting the wall. And right after I took the lead, a couple laps later, I pitted because in what was going to be my last stop, and I pitted a little bit before I probably needed to, but it was right on the money where I knew I could make it on fuel. I mean, it was going to be close, but I knew I could make it. And so I did my pit stop. Everything went well. I came back out. I think I was in like 4th, and then immediately got back into 3rd. And then a couple laps more went by. I got back into 2nd, and then I ran down the guy who was leading, who had taken 2 tires, and we've had that conversation a lot. It was not working at Indy. And I ran him down pretty quickly within about 2 or 3 laps and passed the leader and was back in the lead, and then started setting sell on everybody. And I was like, wow, if this thing stays green and, nothing crazy happens here, I might actually win this thing of all things. A caution came out with 9 to go, which I hate, because that puts you in the worst spot as a leader, because then it becomes a game of, do you pit or do you stay out? Well, then the second part of the game is, well, if I do this, everybody else does that thing. And if I do that thing, then everybody else does this.
Yep, that's exactly how it works.
Exactly. All the time. Everybody does the exact opposite to you. And I knew that was going to happen. And I knew that I wanted to stay out because I was the leader. The car was the best it had been all night. It's actually probably the best I've ever had a car at Indy, period. And I was like, I know I want to stay out, but my worry is that they're all going to pit and I'm going to stay out, and there's going to be like 1 car behind me that didn't pit. And even though my tires were still pretty good and I'd taken care of them somewhat, I'm going to get beat because I just can't keep up with their new tires. So I elected to pit, and only like 2 people pitted with me. So that dropped me back to 7th. I got a pretty good restart, passed a couple cars, got up into 5th. It took forever to pass the guy in 4th, which was really only like 2 laps, but we only had like 5 to go, so it's a big track, but it was very painful. Like, that cost me getting back up there because I could not get around him. 3rd place was easy to pass. 2nd place was even more easy to pass, which doesn't make sense to me, but I got around both of them and then started to run down the leader, and the checker flag came out. So I finished 2nd. And while I kind of kicked myself for pitting, at the same time, it was one of those where it's like, I mean, you're screwed either way. because you do one thing, they do the other. And at the same time, I was really satisfied because I got back to second. And to take it even a step further, if you remember, I said that I thought I could finish seventh, eighth, or ninth. I finished second. So that's a pretty dang good recovery from clobbering the fence very early on.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, especially considering the fact that you know, were in a wounded car right from the get-go kind of thing.
Yeah. So I'll take it. And the other thing that I will take and that I'm very happy with, and so I will have a selfish moment and share it on the show, is that we've run 5 races. This weekend we go to Pocono, which I love. And so out of those 5 races, I've had one race that was bad, and that was Daytona where I got in that wreck. So we get 4 drop weeks. So let's pretend that one of those drop weeks is taking place. Get rid of the Daytona race. If you look at the other 4 races, I finished second, second, first, second. So my average finish in those 4 races is 1.75. So that's pretty good to start the season off. So I'm happy.
It is. Dang it, I had a thought that I was going to follow up that with, but I will say that I did check, and I finished 23rd. Was correct in that. One thing I forgot to mention while I was talking about my race, I know I was going to follow up on something to you, but no, I'm going to talk about me.
It's all about you, isn't it?
Something Chad and I actually talked about before we started recording here, and
Yeah.
I've had these new pedals for a while now. In case you're new to the show, I have my DFGT wheel, but I'm currently using a Chad's old G27 pedals along with the Bodnar cable in order to increase the resolution on the signal coming back from that. And the G27 pedals are vastly superior to the old DFGTs. Anyway, I had actually talked about the experience I had with them a little bit when I first got them, and now that I've actually gotten in some more races and stuff, Chad actually mentions, like, yeah, we should probably give them an update on how the pedals are doing. It's like, well, it's funny you should mention that, because while I was actually racing Indy with, like, stone cold with no practice whatsoever, I actually thought about the pedals, because when I was going into the corners, corners 1 and 3 specifically, I was able to just kind of not slam on the brakes, but be heavy on the brakes, because of the way that the brake pedal is in the G27, you can give it a lot more pressure, and kind of have a feel to it. It's not a load cell brake, but it does have, a lot of resistance to it when you're using it. So it feels a lot more natural as a brake pedal as opposed to the DFGT, which, if you put your foot into it, you're just on the floor and now you're spinning. But I was actually thinking about
I love the sound effects.
with these pedals, how you can actually have the confidence to just kind of really get into the brakes hard and then just kind of let them off as you're kind of, as the car is settled.
Kind of like trail braking.
Yeah, and the nose is settled, the nose is going where it's supposed to go, so now you can kind of let off on the brake. But like from lap 1, I had no problem just jamming on the brake, because I knew that I understood the way that these pedals make the car react to a degree that I knew that wasn't going to send me into a spin. I knew I could do that. And I was actually thinking about that. It's like, man, with those old pedals, I would never be able to do this. Like I would have been so tentative on the brake in order to kind of go into that first corner. I'd either have, I would have been too little or too much. And here I was, it's hard to describe, but I mean, you can really come onto it but not overdo it. Like in order to overdo the braking, you really have to slam that brake down. Like you can threshold brake with these pedals so much easier than you could with those old pieces of crap. So the pedals are still working out great for me. I mean, and the Kentucky race, it was Kentucky, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay. All of a sudden my brain said, it wasn't Kentucky, you idiot. It's like, yeah, it was. And I had an inner monologue going on. But but even with the oval racing, because I mentioned how it had improved, quote unquote improved, my road racing, as far as being able to be more comfortable with the pedals. But the fact that I could have that confidence in the brake pedal really actually did make a huge difference. Like I said, coming in cold in Indy, so it's something I actually thought about. It's like, you know what, I'm still loving the way these pedals are affecting my actual ability to race. So, speaking of pedals, how are yours working out? Because I mean, you're working
Well,
on new pedals too, so to speak.
yeah. Well, one of the things go back to your situation
Hmm.
is you when you have a pedal like I just about called you Jason. Wow. I don't know why I almost just called you Jason. I literally almost said, going back to your situation, Jason. Anyways,
Are you
so
podcasting with other people?
yeah, actually, I've got Jason and Danny and Adam over here. No, one of the things I was thinking about with your situation, you were talking about how a little bit easier to brake and get the feel for it. You become a lot more consistent with your braking when it has that much resistance. I find,
Hmm.
like with your GF Driving Force GT pedals that just go to the floor. It's very hard, I think, anyways. And I've never really used them. I used them like years ago, but never with iRacing. It To me, I would think those would be very hard to be a consistent breaker with because, like you said, it's either you're going to nail it way too hard or not enough.
Yep.
And when you've got the G27s or pedals that are kind of like that, maybe a little better, like Club Sports and stuff, you really feel the brake and can be way more consistent with it, and that really helps. Like I don't care what anybody says, it helps a lot. It's not even something that it may not even make you faster, but it's going to make you a lot more consistent. Consister, man, making up all kinds of words.
Consister?
Yeah, more consistent. So I just wanted to mention that, and yeah, that's your story is exactly why I wanted to bring this back up because it had been a while. We had talked about our new pedals. So now my pedals in particular, still love them. Nobody can take them from me. I One of the things that I will mention that I just think is neat. You go on the forums, and all the time you'll see things like, "Oh, I have these pedals." Club Sports, for example, for sale. Selling them a little bit cheaper. First bidder. Stuff like that. I don't think I've ever seen somebody selling these pedals again. And for the record, if you don't know, I have the main performance PC sim pedals, which do cost a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So you're probably sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, that's like $1,400." Yes, but it is worth every dime. Um, I I think Roy Clark could explain it better because he's actually the one that has told me about it, just based on his opinion. But like he believes that the pedals that made me, do what I did with the V8 supercar when I drove that, and I agree with him to a degree. But these pedals allow me to be so much more consistent. Like going in, like road racing is something that I've been doing a lot of lately, way more than the oval racing. And there's all kinds of tracks. Road America comes to mind with all those heavy braking zones, and with some of these cars, it's really hard to slow them down. The V8 especially. Um, these pedals have helped me so much in those situations because I can apply so much pressure and they are hard to push. Like you until you have used the pedals, you have no clue how hard it is to push them. Um, and but that helps. Like you would think that that would be painful and kind of hurt you, after, and it does, physically hurt you a little bit.
And it does.
But it helps you so much when you're road racing in particular, and ovals too. But that I love it. Like I've literally gotten up from racing sometimes, and my right knee hurts because of the throttle because I use my right foot on the throttle, and I'm a left foot braker, which for some odd reason comes naturally to me when I sim race, but I can't do it at all in a real car.
Yep, I'm the
Um,
exact same way. I
yeah.
cannot sim race. Well, I cannot 1 foot sim race, and I cannot
Nope.
2 foot real car drive.
Yeah.
Like
It's strange.
I've tried both, and
Yeah.
it is
So
physically
have I.
impossible for me to do either of the opposite. Just
Yep.
cannot.
Can't either.
My brain refuses to do it that way.
Yeah, I'm the same way. But yeah, I use my left foot, as I was mentioning, to brake and also to clutch, but not every road car you have a clutch. So all that braking, there's been times where I've got up and like the first time that I stand back up after a long race, I kind of hobble for a minute because these pedals are difficult to push, but I love that about them. And It's taken some getting used to, but I think I've gotten to the point now where I'm used to the pedals now. I figured out, that sometimes I'm braking too much and I can brake a little less. I know that that was actually my problem at Indy this past Sunday. I'd go into the corners and I would tap the brake a little bit, and I realized kind of quickly that I was slowing myself down by hitting it too much. So am trying to learn that line between too much and not enough, but it's a lot different with these pedals than it would be with the driving force pedals. So still love these things. They are awesome, and I promise you, if you can afford it and it's in your budget and your wife won't shoot you with a shotgun, you should get them.
However, if you don't get those, there are also many lower
Yes,
priced
many.
options which will certainly improve over the stock pedals of, say,
Yeah,
DFGT. As we've mentioned,
absolutely.
I mean, we've talked about it a lot in the past. The DFGT wheel, both me and
Great.
Chad use it, and we both love the wheel. Like, it is a great wheel. I mean, I do kind of wish it wasn't a little as notchy as it is,
Mhm.
when in the turns, like it's not as smooth. Like you can feel the individual little click, 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 click when you're driving a little bit. But I mean, as far as buttons, features, everything else, I have no problem with this wheel, especially once I put those paddle shifters on there. But the pedals, not so much. You can always do better than those. And it's funny. I mean, you must chuckle inside a little bit when we have these conversations because, you know, for how many years did you tell me it's like, what, you got to get away from those pedals? I'm like, what, for the style, for the style of racer I am and for the level of skill that I have, you know what, crappy pedals don't make a difference to me because I'm not good enough for me to be able to even see a difference. And now here we are, a year down the road or whatever it is from, those conversations to saying, holy crap, I understand the universe now and how and how the DFGT pedals were not helping my case at all. I will not shut up.
Yes. It really is. Uh, like I said, it may not make you faster, but man, will it make you more consistent.
Hmm.
And that in alone can make you faster.
Yep.
So yeah, and now I'm preaching the same thing to Jeff McPherson because he's apparently in the market for new pedals, and he has the Driving Force GT pedals, and I just want to slap him in the face and be like, dude, get you some good pedals.
Well, and
Come
like I
on.
said, you don't have to go the
Yeah,
$1,400 route. I mean,
exactly.
there are, if you look,
I
there
mean,
is at every level there are pedals that you can upgrade to, I guess.
Club Sport pedals V2s, $250. Great pedals. They just came out with the V3s. I don't know how much they are, but I'm sure they're not that much.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
and like I said, I mean, heck, all I had to do, well, I mean, even though they ended up costing me more money than they were supposed to, G27 pedals that I quote unquote got for free, yet thanks to our wonderful government and how well they get along when it comes to transporting goods and services across the border, ended up costing me a bunch of money to actually get them here. But
but it's been worth it. See?
it's cheaper than if I had gone out and bought a new G27 wheel. And I don't
Yeah.
want a G27 wheel because it doesn't got enough buttons on it. So,
Yeah. So yes. Yeah. Great combo.
yep, I am very happy with them, and it is certainly made anytime I jump in to have a race much more enjoyable.
Although I will say it's kind of funny. I had probably the cheapest steering wheel that you can buy, or
Hmm.
at least one of, and one of the most expensive pedal sets that you can buy, all in the same rig.
See,
Yay, money!
you spent the money where you thought it was more important, and that was in the
Yeah,
pedals, not the wheel. Yeah.
I love the wheel. I love the feel. Like Trevor said, it's a little bit clicky sometimes, but I do love the Driving Force GT wheel, and I've actually told a lot of people that because I've had this one for like I don't know 8 years, and even though part of those 8 years I didn't use it at all, and it just kind of sat in the closet, um, I have told people that if and when it dies, I'll simply just replace it with a new one.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, like I've had this one for, well, what? I mean, when I started the podcast, like the original one, I had borrowed my friend's old Momo, and I got this shortly afterwards because it was, you know, because he wanted his wheel back, and so I mean, we're talking what 5, 6 years, 5 years ago that I've had this guy, and like I'm amazed this thing is not broke. To be honest with you, because I mean there are times when I'm racing and I can see how I'm gripping the wheel. It's like I'm trying to bend this thing in half. Like I'm looking at the wheels, like the base is kind of at one angle, and I can see I'm deflecting the wheel away from the natural position of it. It's like, okay, but no, she's remained strong. I mean, then again, there's all those new ones coming out that we talked about, which seem to be priced wrong, but they do look pretty. I don't know if that Logitech's coming out with, so who knows? I mean, I hope it doesn't break because hey, I spend enough money on things as it is, but you know.
Yeah. Speaking of that, we've talked about the Logitech G29. I'm not very impressed so far because it seems like like we talked about, it seems like the G27, the Driving Force GT, had a baby, and they didn't even update the pedals really. I mean, a little bit. They kind of took the shifter separate, and basically from the people that are really interested in getting it, which I'm not one of them, it just seems like I don't want this to sound wrong, but like it's basically like they just decided, well, let's make a wheel so that people have one for Xbox and people have one for PlayStation and people have one for PC, and be done with it.
Yep.
And they didn't really spend much time making it great. So that's just
I mean,
what
yeah, I mean that's just opinion based on looking at features and from what we can see. I mean, we obviously haven't had a chance to actually try out the wheel, but
yeah.
Hey, but if anybody from Logitech is listening, hey, I love your GFGT.
Yes,
I love the G27 pedals. If you wanted to send me out a free G29 wheel for me to test, and I will give an honest review for the show. I mean, just saying. I'm just putting that out there.
My G27 still works. I've never had a problem with it except for the fact that the two little clippy things broke off, but that was a person's fault and not the wheel's fault. But I love that wheel, except for the button part. But
do you think if I contact Logitech, they'll send me out a wheel for review purpose? Do you think we're big enough for that yet? Yeah.
This is like your whole. I could see it in your eyes.
It's like the long con, man.
I was sitting there telling a story, and I'm looking at Trevor, and I'm like, yeah, he's like in another world. It's over with. I'm just gonna finish the show out.
Well, I'm just
I don't know if it might.
Like I said, it's the longest con ever, man. Like I started the podcast, then we started the radio show with you. All this because I want free stuff. That's that's what it's all about, man. All this for a $500 wheel.
Pretty much. But I think we will finish up here with our rookie tip, which is more of like a feature that you may not have known about tip.
I know I didn't when you mentioned it, so.
Yeah. It's kind of new, but it's also, I don't know if it was one of those that was just, alert, look at me. And it only applies to people who use the mouse in the sim, which you can turn off and on, by the way. I think by default it is on, but I turn mine off because that is so unrealistic. And you don't just have a mouse sitting off to the side of your cockpit. So I can't do this, but that's okay. But you can actually take your mouse now when you're in the sim, and of course you can scroll through all your black boxes and adjust different things with your car. And they've added that new, I think it's F8 or 9, no, F10 maybe, by default anyways, that allows you to play around with the radio where you can change what channels you're listening to or what you're on or add channels, blah, blah, blah. So that was one of the new features, and I think this might have come out at the same time as that, but you can actually go through your little standings box and things like that, and you can actually use the mouse to right-click on a certain driver and have easy access to different things. And a couple of notables would be things like sending them a private message. So if I'm racing, I can right-click on Trevor's name and then type in, "Hey man, how's it going?" And it'll send it right to him, and I don't have to do the /# key 16. "Hey man, how's it going?" So it's a little bit quicker, easier. There's also admin controls where you can, I guess you can issue things like issue a black flag or take it away, and EOLs and wave around. Even
Yeah,
though
I was
the
going to
game
ask. I was going to ask that because that was the first thing that popped into my head was I remembering doing the fun races and it's like, all right, can you clear the black flag and stuff? And I'm trying to type and drive and weaving around like a drunk man. And if there was a way that I could just take, could have just slung the keyboard across my lap and just kind of use the mouse to click things, that would have made that a lot easier.
Yeah, then see this feature was actually out then, and I think somebody even said it in the room. I don't remember who, but I didn't know about it. And like I said, I can't even use my mouse anyway. So even if I was like, "Oh yeah, cool," I wouldn't have been able to do it. So yeah, you can do little things with people. I think you can even like mute them individually, there instead of having the button like we talked about.
Ooh, that would be convenient, because the old game of it's like, I don't want to listen to that person. Okay, gonna drive, wait for them to talk, wait for them to talk, wait for them to talk. Okay, they're talking, click the button. Oh, I muted the wrong guy. Oh no.
Yes. Or when you're endurance racing and it screws up and mutes everybody. Yeah. So I just kind of wanted to mention that there's a lot of little things you can do, and I don't know them all because I don't use a mouse. If I haven't mentioned that, but you can go in and wow, you can go in and experiment with that as you see fit and see what all there is to do.
Don't drive with the mouse though.
Yes, please don't.
Use a wheel for that.
Yes,
But
please do.
But yeah, that's actually when you mentioned that, I thought that was pretty cool that you can actually to use the mouse rather than like you said worrying about commands or certain button presses and presses and stuff like that. But so I'm going to have to try that out next time to see if you can, or to see what all you can do with the mouse. But like I said, for a lot of us, we have our mouse where we can reach it while we're driving, and under yellow, it's probably not a big deal. We just kind of right-click on a couple things and affect some features. So I didn't know that was in there. I just always, my mouse is off to the side. I don't think about it after I hit the big race or grid button. Like that's the last time I think about it in a race. So, all right. Well, man, that was a jam-packed show. Like that was,
yeah, it was.
That was fuller than I expected it to be.
Fuller. Not as fuller as next week.
In case I was just thinking this through, it's like as we were kind of talking, because obviously anybody who's listening to the podcast version and didn't tune in live doesn't see the chat and all that good stuff. But I kind of mentioned, it's like, hey, Nim has confirmed that it's going to be the 60 car. In case we didn't actually specify what was going on there, Nim Cross, who's a iRacing staff member. He's basically the disciplinarian of the team. He's the guy who handles all the protests and the banning and all of that stuff. I'm sure he has other duties as well, but that's kind of how we all know him. Is he's the guy who reaches out to you when you are being bad. He stopped by the chat room and was kind of talking with us a bit there. So thanks to Nim, and apparently, and I will quote Mr. Nim Cross here, assuming that it was actually Nim, but I have no reason to believe it wasn't because he was basically talking like Nim. He says, guys, I need to go get some seat time at Spa. We left the show a little bit earlier. He says, I really appreciate you guys and your show. Thanks for talking about and streaming iRacing. So, thanks, Nim. Good to see it's another member behind the walls that knows we exist, man. Like,
And did you see what else he posted?
I like the fact that he posted the fact that that I'm coming up on my 8-year anniversary, and I've had no protests against me, and he thinks that's awesome.
Yes. And I have also not had any protests against me.
Of course I'm not going to have any protests against me. Like I said, I'm the nicest guy out there, man. Like, I'll get out of your way even if you don't want me to get out of your way.
That is true. It's like, come on, Trevor, what's right? Where are you going, man?
Oh, well, I was slower, so I just kind of pulled off to the side,
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that's pretty cool. I didn't, yet another person that actually works at iRacing that is aware of our show. So that's pretty cool. And it was weird. It's like as soon as Nim showed up, all of a sudden, a bunch of other people showed up in our chat room. Like, are people stalking Nim? And they said, "Oh wait, what's Nim looking at? Let's go there." Like, how would they know that he was over here? But as soon as he showed up, a bunch of other people showed up. It's like, well, that's weird. But anyway, Anything else you want to mention before we send these people off and let them enjoy the rest of their day, evening, whatever it may be when they're listening?
Nope. Just go have some fun if you have the golf club and play in our little tourney, and try not to get attacked by a bear on the 12th tee.
And, of course, on Saturday, don't look Friday because you won't see anything. But on Saturday, look for the various team streams. Best way to find out where to go for all of that, since we'll have several people covering different parts of the race, is to watch our Twitter feed, which will be the team's Twitter feed. Will be kind of working in that duty. And that is, again, Chad?
Am I supposed to fill in the blank?
Yeah, that was the haha. And Chad, our Twitter team Twitter feed is
IRTM team. I'm done. That was
I know it sounded like IRTM team slash
go team.
But check out that Twitter feed. That'll be where you'll be able to find the information for what streams are live at one point in time. Also, obviously, mine and Chad's Twitter, as you always pay attention to. We'll probably have some information there as well. And I think that's about it. So golfing and endurance racing. A lot of fun to be had over the next little bit here. But with all that being said, that'll about do it for this week. And a long week it was. I like it when we have a lot to talk about. I enjoy talking. That's why I do this. But big thanks to all of you out there for listening. We really do appreciate it. Because, hey, if you stop listening, we'll stop doing this. Like, I like talking, but if nobody's listening, I'll probably just stop because then I'm just crazy at that point in time. Although I do talk to myself occasionally. I have good conversations. I mean, I know what I'm going to say, but
Right now.
Anyway, remember that the show is available for download on iTunes and Zune under the podcast sections, where we'd really appreciate a review to help us get the word out. The show is also available on YouTube. Hey, and finally, that is actually a true statement this time. And Twitch over at Ratface Productions. That's my channels. And it is mirrored over on Chad's YouTube channel, which is It's Chadillac. You can check out the website for information, archives, links, and the polls we mentioned on the show at iRacingTodayRadio.com. Poll is ending tomorrow, and a new poll will begin, so make sure you go over and vote in that one. And Chad wants to say make sure you send in your poll suggestions because we're running out.
No.
Okay, I was guessing.
The poll that we're doing for the month of August is a great one, and I'm very curious to see how the voting goes. So please, please, please vote in that when it comes up on Saturday.
I don't even know what it is. I'm excited now, too.
It's really cool.
Excellent. So make sure you check out those polls over at iRacingTodayRadio.com. And, of course, if you haven't already, well, shame on you. But you should follow us on Twitter. I'm at iRacingToday, and he's at It's Chadillac.
Please email any questions, comments, like some of you do occasionally, and of course poll suggestions because we will eventually run out, but that you may have to feedback at iRacingTodayRadio.com. You can also tweet us if you want to. Feel free to add Trevor and myself as friends on iRacing because we love friends.
We do.
We do. If you aren't a member yet, though, first of all, take advantage of that summer/winter deal, depending on where you live.
Yeah, really, $9. $9 to try it out for 3 months.
3 months. Can't beat that. 70% savings. So please do it. It really is worth the money and time if you can get into it. I promise you won't regret it. But when you do sign up, please refer either Trevor or myself. In the referral box, you can enter Trevor's email, which is ratface. Of course, that is with 2 T's. But ratface@gmail.com, or you can enter mine, which is iRacingLegend@gmail.com. Currently, Trevor is leading that category, and I need to catch up. So please help me catch up.
No, because I need to start saving up money for Nürburgring.
Well, so do I.
I have a wife and 2 kids. I win.
I have something that I can't say yet.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. See, I win. No. But anyways, until next week for that awesome interview with Jacob, Gary, and John that we hope you'll tune in and listen to because it really is going to be great. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, remember that the race is rarely won in the first turn.
But it is often lost there. Good night, everybody.